And that went really well and has kind of put AMD on a different trajectory. So that also gave me some new opportunities. I was able to go from there to this group called Semi-Custom Business, where I was working with Microsoft on the Xbox consoles and programs for them. And it was like the first time that I have 3 sons. It's the first time my sons thought I was cool ever. Before that, I was just a nerd. And then it was like, you know, I heard them like once tell a friend, my mom designed the Xbox X. I'm like, well, not really, but you know, whatever. So that's been where being in technology has really gotten fun. It's like when you can see your products go into things that people touch and is cool. And I did that for a few years, and then I switched into another group that's our graphics SOC group, and led the teams that design all of our SOCs, which is 4 every 18 months. And that was a super challenging role because, again, there was a lot of newness for me, things I wasn't my expertise, and I had 900 people reporting to me in China, India, Canada, California, and like 6 people in Austin. So I spent a lot of time on meetings in the evenings because I had to do design reviews with my team in China. And I did that for 4 years. And then I got to a point where I went back to AMD and said, I'm gonna retire because I got very burned out. And then they said, why don't you take a leave of absence and come back, and then we'll talk about other job opportunities. So I had a great leave of absence. Traveled, we have an RV, went across the country, it was awesome. Really came back and was like, I'm not gonna rejoin work. Another benefit of being in high tech is it was lucrative enough that I could say, I'm done, you know, I can stop here. But they've offered me different roles, and actually my role now, although you said it was CVP of Design Engineering, I'm now CVP of HR. And so I'm working on making sure that all of the women and underrepresented groups in AMD are getting the right opportunities to succeed. So are they in good roles? Do people have good managers? You know, are they getting the mentoring they want, the visibility they want? Which is kind of stuff I had always been doing in my spare time, and now it's my job. And so it is, I love my job, and it's super cool, and it aligns with a lot of the things I have done in the past. Like, I was the site lead for Austin, which is, you know, making sure we've got the events going on and things, you know, things to pull the whole team together, representing the employees, you know, requests back to management. And also, I have been the executive sponsor for our Pride organization since 2017, because that's just, it's something very near and dear to me. I have a brother that's gay, and it is, you know, it's like one of those where I go to those meetings and I come out all, you know, just invigorated. So I love my current role. People ask me, is this your new career? And I'm like, I don't know. So that's one thing. I've never really exactly mapped out a plan, but things have really worked out for me. So I think I covered a lot of the things I wanted to say about, you know, semiconductor and things that I did. But, you know, if anyone has questions, I'm happy to take questions on any topic, really. Yeah.
How did you first get into engineering? Like, what was the inspiration for that?
Yeah. How did I first get into engineering? So, in high school, my parents were, my dad was an organic chemistry professor and my mom was a physics professor. And, you know, it was like senior year. Like I said, you guys have a big leg up on me. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And they're like, what do you like? You know, and for me, physics and math were the things that kind of made sense. And I wouldn't say they were easy, but I could do them. And so I was like, well, these are the things I like. And they're like, well, you should think about being an engineer. I'm like, okay. And actually, I applied for a scholarship from the Society of Professional Engineers, and my counselor saw that come through her office, because I guess she had to write something, and she called me in and she said, Susie, which is what I went by at the time, please don't call me that, but she's like, Susie, why are you applying for an engineering scholarship? I'm like, well, my parents thought this might be a good fit for me, and she's like, oh my gosh, no, you do not want to be an engineer. I'm like, really, why? And she's like, you know, you're just really outgoing and you like to be around people. I just think you'd be miserable in that field. So that was a really fun conversation when I told my mom about it. And the ironic thing is, engineers, especially in the fields I work in, if you're working on a processor, there's like 120 people that have to work together. So if you don't like working with people, you don't want to be in there. Now, there certainly are areas of it that you can work on and be much more independent, but it's not a detriment if you like people and you're communicative. So, yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
Do you prefer working in a small startup or a large company?
Okay. Do I prefer working in a small startup or a large company? I think I would have said for a long time the startup, because it was very exciting. But there's pros and cons to both. You know, you work at a small startup, you take your own trash out. You know, there's like not a lot of perks that go along with it. But at the time, it gave me so many opportunities to learn different things. It's a little bit easier when you get to a big company to get into an area and then have a hard time, you know, like, well, I want to learn that. And it's like, oh, but we really need you here. I mean, companies should not do that to you, and managers should not do that to you, but managers are not always graded on how they do at managing. Sometimes they're just graded on, did you get the project done? So if you let people, you know, go to different areas. So I would say it probably depends on your personality, and then also really the economic time frame. I would say in 2023, just what I see in the tea leaves and what's coming, maybe a startup is not the best place to be. Yeah.
I know you touched on it a little bit, but what was the process like for getting your first job offers?
Oh, the process for getting my first job offers. So like real job offers, not summer job offers, right?
Or both.
Or both. Okay. So I had some summer job offers. My first real one that wasn't like being a waitress was working at a paper mill in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And it was super eye-opening. And the main thing I learned about that is I did not want to work at a paper mill in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. It was not my people and not my world. But I did learn a lot there. That one, honestly, I got through nepotism. My grandfather had been an executive with the International Paper Company. They had, you know, places where, but they didn't come to Rice to get people, you know. And so I ended up working there doing programming for the summer. And at the end of the summer, I never told anybody how I got there, never mentioned it to my grandfather. At the end of the summer, like the head of the whole paper company, there was a picnic, and he came over as I was talking to my boss, and then he starts talking about my grandfather, and my boss's eyes got this big, and like the next day, he's like, why didn't you tell me who your grandfather was? I was like, I didn't. And then he was like, well, we were saying a lot of stuff around here that you should, you know, like they would have cleaned up their act. I'm like, well, that shouldn't need to be necessary. But then it was, you know, I don't know what the process is now exactly. I mean, they usually have, like, we have recruiting fairs at the universities. They have things called lobby days where companies will come in and talk to students and get resumes. But honestly, for us in tech, at least in semiconductors, we are fighting to get any people we can from the universities. It's not a real struggle for the students. It's more of a struggle for us competing for the students. So it's really, it happens mostly on the campuses. But then internships, you know, also feed into that. Yeah.
Okay. I know that you said that you weren't like now work around like recruiting and all that. Like, what do you think that like as you're going to college or like seniors trying to get an internship? What are the things that you might like see, like you want to see when you're like I don't know trying to get an internship at a company or like.
So your question is, how do you, like, when you're in college, how do you get those internships? So I think that I think it's a matter of applying. I think it's a matter of having good grades. I think it's a matter of showing the interest. I mean, that to me is the thing, you know, if you know something about the company when you go in to talk to someone, when they're looking for out what the job is. But if someone comes in and goes, oh, AMD and Ryzen, and I know what Radeon is, you know, even if you know a few things and you seem excited, to me that carries as much weight as having excellent grades. While you're still in high school. I think high school, the important thing is to have the foundations to excel in college. That's what I would recommend. I think if you can get experiences, if you can shadow, or, you know, that might help you to decide what kind of a job you want to have and where to focus your college career. But I don't necessarily think that there's anything, you know, that people look at that reaches back to high school, other than the foundations of, you know, of what you're going to do in college. And also being a part of clubs and stuff, because that is how you, I mean, a huge portion of careers is learning how to navigate, you know, having difficult conversations and replying to emails and doing presentations and getting better at it and thanking people. I mean, so anything that you're doing like that is giving you those kind of skills is super helpful later. Yeah.
What do you think your favorite role has been? So you talked about your own marketing company. So which one has been your favorite?
Which was my favorite role? Besides the period where I was on a leave of absence. Okay, no, that's terrible. I didn't say that. My favorite role, I really think, was when I led the Zen processor. It was because it was so hard, because the team just didn't believe that we were getting 10% performance improvement. That's when we talked mostly about performance and not as much about performance and power, but performance improvement year over year. And not even year over year, but product over product. And so when we had this new leader who was very visionary, and he's like, we can go over 50%. The team itself just didn't believe in themselves. And so, you know, I had so much attrition, so many people quitting because they just didn't think we could do it, and they didn't want to be there when the project was canceled. And AMD wasn't doing well. I mean, it was hard. So it was like almost every Friday I would come in and somebody would either tap me on the shoulder or send me an email and say, can we talk? And I was like, it's another person quitting, you know? So it was really hard while I was in it. And when you're the leader of that, you have to come in every day and look like this. Look like things are great. You know, everybody else gets to go, oh, you know, this is terrible, this and blah, 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 blah. And you can't do that. You know, I mean, you gotta be genuine, but you gotta come in and even if you had a cruddy morning at home, you gotta come in and put a good face on it because they'll be like, why does Suzanne look like that? Oh my God, there's gonna be layoffs. You know, so, but the fact that we were able to keep that team together and then produce something really amazing, I think in the afterglow of being past it, that's my favorite project. I should probably say. Now I look back on it very fondly and remember it a little fuzzy. but really that team, because it had been so hard, it's like when we see each other in the halls at work or something, everybody hugs everybody. Hey, it's almost like they went through battle together or something. So I would say, don't shy away from hard projects. You can learn a lot, and it might be painful while you're in it. Yeah.
Is there anything that you wish you'd known or wish you'd done when you were our age?
When I was your age. Well, I hope that you guys are having a lot of fun. That's the main thing, because you got a long, life is very long, right? You got a long time to do work. So I hope I'm not getting in trouble by saying that. I mean, study really hard and get all A's. That's what I mean.